All right. Did you listen to the whole album?
On
Some of it?
multiple occasions, I listened to the whole album,
Nice. Okay.
and I have hot takes.
Oh.
I have hot cakes with some hot takes, baby. Well, it. We're starting. You ready? And you have to bleep out the it twice now.
All the times.
All the times. Two. Hey everybody, welcome back to a fresh new episode, a musically inclined episode of Speak Freely. I am, of course, as always, Mr. Freely, along with Mr. Speak. I am David B. here with Kuno Stars, my friend, my brother, my love. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing lovely now after that. What an intro.
What an intro. I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped. Like, we were talking a little bit before, I just finished watching a pay-per-view, a wrestling pay-per-view for all you fans out there with some friends of mine, and it was a fun time. Pay-per-view was whatever, but it was a good time with my peeps. So I'm pretty jacked up right now on like, that little like adrenaline high you get when you hang out with friends. You know what I'm talking about?
Not for a long time. No, I don't know.
So you're saying back in November, you didn't feel anything?
That's a long time ago. To be honest, it feels like a long time ago.
Honestly, in COVID years, that was at least 1,000 years ago.
I mean, I got a little stubble now, so that's how long ago it's been.
That's how long ago it was. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of stubble, if you don't want to go into details, that's fine. But how was your trip to wherever you went? I'm not telling them where unless you want them to know.
No, it's fine. I mean, I took a little road trip up to San Francisco. A friend of mine recently moved back home. Right, she was here in LA, which sucks because she moved down, and then the pandemic hit like 2 months later. And she tried to stick it out, but it's
too much.
Yeah. So she moved back home, and then couldn't carry all her stuff in her car. So I took I took some of it also up, and then spent like 3 days there. So it's very sad. Like, my memories of San Francisco is like, I've always loved the city and being in that energy. And it used to be a place where I wanted to live, back in my 20s when I was young and could do it. But going now, it's so sad to see how different it is. Just the pandemic and things like that. It's different energy.
For sure, and I feel like a lot of places are like that right now. For sure, like I know, just like here in Houston, like every once in a while, when I have to go out to downtown for any number of reasons, and I'm just like, wow, it's like it's dead and it's sad. I mean, it was not anymore. Thanks, Governor Abbott. But before it is like a little heartbreaking, but at the same time, you're kind of like, but it's kind of like something we kind of have to get through, because like we're not, or at the time we weren't like doing any sizable damage against it. I mean, now we are somewhat, thanks to like obviously all the mandates we had, and then the vaccine coming, numbers are dropping. But I don't know, I'm still like in that mindset, like we gotta now's the time to really buckle down and keep doing it, not to get relaxed with it, because we're close now. I mean, like, that's what happened to us last year. Like we were getting close, and then everyone was like, fuck it, let's go party. And then we had like 3 waves after that, because no one wanted to understand. They thought it was just going to be a month. It's like, no, you got to give it a few months. Like, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. At the very least, we have a vaccine now, so that's good. And sooner rather than later, we'll all eventually get it. So
yeah. Speaking of which, I actually got my first dose the other day.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
You got that hookup. I hate you. I don't hate you.
I got back from the trip, and like the next day I was like, I had my appointment set up, so I went in, got it done. It's the Moderna vaccine.
Okay.
So it's 2 doses. First one's not so bad. had a little bit of a sore arm, but other than that, no other symptoms. So I'm very grateful.
I guess I could say this now because we're kind of coming out of it. I had a COVID scare here at my home, where one of my family members tested positive, and we all hunkered down for like the last 2 weeks, and luckily, the rest of us didn't really get it. So as far as we know, I've taken my test twice already. I might, depending on but I feel fine. That's the thing, though. I've been feeling fine, and the test came back negative, so I'm pretty sure I'm in the clear along with my parents. So, I mean, it just, and like my family member who got it, like they were like, it just felt like they had like a really gnarly cold. Luckily, it wasn't severe. It was like headache, a little bit of congestion, but other than that, they were fine. A little bit of a fever for like a day or so there, but then that was it. So
Okay, it's nothing too severe. It's like
No.
flu-like symptoms.
flu-like symptoms, yeah. And
Yeah.
now and now looking at them and like you wouldn't know they had it, quite honestly, because they're like fine.
Okay.
They look good. They're like functioning again. They got taste. They can taste tastes. They could taste music and see sounds.
And smell the melody.
Exactly. No, but we're all fine, thankfully. So and
Okay.
I still have faith we'll be out of this sooner rather than later. But at the same time, always like, but human beings, especially Americans, dude, like we're selfish creatures, and like if we're not careful now that we're so close to the finish line, that finish line is going to be pushed further and further ahead. It's like now's the time we buckle down. Now's not the time we like get relaxed with it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
definitely.
We sprint to the finish line. We don't start walking. So, speaking of walking and sprinting, this is a new segment. It's not new anymore, right? We've done it for 2 weeks, but tentatively titled "News That's Important to Us of the Week." Week. That's where you had the delay and the reverb, Brian.
I think that sound is your thing.
News of the week that matters to us. Is that better, or is it?
That's good.
News of the week. News that matters to us of the week. Week. Should I end it with "uck"?
Yes.
I think "week" sounds better than ending it with "us." If I'm being honest.
Us kind
What
of
about-
turns into sus.
Yeah. What about you guys? Leave it in the comment section. Just get on with it. Oh, sorry. Okay. Dude, WandaVision, bro. We talked about it
Oh.
last week. Season
Yes.
finale was the day after. When we talked about it, we dropped the episode on a Saturday. But I'm asking you first. What did you think?
I've been thinking about it.
Oh boy. Hot take?
It's
Hot
because
take
it's
time?
been today's what 3 days after, 2 days after, 3
As
days
of
after,
this
right?
as of this recording, yeah.
Yeah. So initially, kind of underwhelming. Initially, right? I think because I was expecting something huge. I was like buying into all the like YouTube hype. You know those YouTubers who like gave out their theories and stuff. I was buying into it.
You fucked
I
up.
did.
You fucked up.
And so first night I watched, I was like, oh, it was good, but I wanted more. I sat with it over the weekend, really thought about it, and as a story about a woman who has a lifetime of trauma and her finding a way to come out at the other end of it, for better or for worse, right? I don't. Who knows what the future is, but she found a way to get out of it and kind of be at peace, sort of. We'll talk about that, but as a contained story, I love it. It's great, like the mystery, all that. Like even with the writers playing with the expectations of the audience members was really fun. But I think it was there's Annie for this one. She is fantastic. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
How about you? How did you feel?
Emmys for everyone all around, but especially for oh my god, I'm forgetting her name. Catherine Hahn and
Catherine Hahn was really amazing.
And for sure for Elizabeth Olsen. I loved it. Like I it was fun theorizing with my friends and watching a lot of like people I know, their shows and their theories and stuff like that, but I wasn't of the mindset that we were going to get a lot of world building from this, especially considering it was a TV show, not a movie. Because usually in the movies is when we get the big reveals, like, you know, we got Spider-Man and Civil War and like Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? Like usually the movies are where we get the world building. I really was hoping, and this is what I got with WandaVision, that we were going to personal, intimate stories with these characters, or else why put it on the TV in the TV format and not on the big screen. That's exactly what I thought. I thought the last episode was a fitting end to what the story was. And I personally wasn't looking for like, give me Fantastic Four, confirm the multiverse, where's Doctor Strange, like all those other stuff. I was just like, I'm super invested in Wanda as a character, and I want to see how she comes out of this. And the last episode for me really satisfied that question. And of course, it didn't answer all the questions the show places before it. So even then, the show still kind of world builds for the MCU moving forward to some extent, right? With Agatha and introducing magic and introducing the Darkhold, the Book of the Damned, introducing witches now as like a real thing. Like we had wizards and like sorcerers technically, right? But now we have like legit witches, and like we found one. Agatha has been living forever, but who's to say there's not more out there? And I loved the way they trolled the audience with casting the same actor who played Pietro in the X-Men franchise, and then just being like, oh, he's just some random dude. Like,
Ralph
hell yes,
Boner.
So I love that dude. And who's to say in the future they don't elaborate that on more? It could be a cover up. He could be like another Pietro from a multiverse. Who's to say? Because Marvel is so good at giving us something and then kind of explaining it away later. You know what I mean? Just look at Wanda and like how originally she was just supposed to be an experiment from an Infinity Stone. But now because of the series, they're letting us know like, no, you've always been magical. It's just the Infinity Stone kind of like made your powers more stronger. And it's like, oh, so she's always, does that confirm mutants? Oh my God. But people let their expectations dictate what the show should be, and I think they should just let the show be what it was. And that's kind of the benefit and also the con of not being able to like binge watch a show, because when you binge watch a show, you don't have to think or theorize. You could just watch the next episode. But of course, when you sit with an episode for a whole week, kind of the fun part of it is theorizing and having speculations. Now the problem with that is, which I'm sure Disney had, so they try to like, a lot of the creators the week of, they really try to like quell expectations. They're like, hey, a lot of people might be disappointed with the finale because your theories are not hitting the mark at all. So
Your theories are wild.
They're too wild for this show. But I don't know, but like it was fun theorizing, but at the same time, like I went into the mindset of like, but I want to see what the creators who created this thing think it should end.
You wanted to see their vision for the
their
show?
vision. But yeah, no, legitimately, yeah. So, and dude, I thought last week's episode was so emotional to ending to this. I was a blubbering mess. Like I've been telling everybody, like, dude, I ugly cried. You know what I mean by ugly cry? Because I was like holding it in like the last like 15, 20 minutes, and then eventually there was like a couple of lines that just broke me, and I was just like, you know what I'm saying? Just like.
What's the actor from Bridesmaids? Rosamund Pike?
Rosamund Pike, yeah. No, not Rosamund Pike.
No, she wasn't in Rose Byrne. Rose Byrne in Bridesmaid, when and that the scene where she's sitting with Kristen Wiig, and it's like she's just crying, she's a mess. Kristen was yeah. You're a really ugly crier.
Say, I'm kind of glad actually, because you're so pretty.
That was you right there.
That was me. I was really ugly crier.
You're normally really pretty, but
I'm ugly in general, but I'm ugly. No, but legit, like the notions of family, Wanda ultimately doing the right thing at the cost of her happiness, but also realizing that like grief is kind of a necessary part of life in order to know the happy moments. You know what I mean? Like her confronting it now and like to some extent not necessarily getting over it, but kind of learning to live with it. I thought was a brilliant ending to what the
Yeah.
show was, which is the show about grief and loss and like how do you deal with that as a human being. And the whole notion of how like even sometimes the way you express your grief can hurt others. Like the notion of like Wanda hurt these people in this town, these people like hate her for it. And it was kind of like, yeah, sometimes the way you decide to deal with your grief might be good for you, but might hurt the people around you. And I was like, wow, like it's so profound, the themes in this show. So I
Hmm.
fucking loved it, man. But I knew from the minute they announced the show and the first two episodes I was gonna love it. I already knew it. I was just like, internet, just wait, internet. You're so finicky, and people loved it, and of course because the last episode wasn't what they wanted it to be. Like, oh, it fucking sucks, man. It's like,
No, yeah. Once I sat down with it and really thought about it, no, I really did love the ending. Like
it makes it
the heartbreaking scene when they had to say goodbye
again.
again.
But that beautiful line that like Vision's like, it's we said goodbye before, so it stands to reason. And Wanda finishes, we'll say hello again. I was just
Yeah.
like, fuck, what? Just water flow of tears. Ah, so beautiful the show. And Vision and I love the fact too, dude. The final fight is a
Philosophical fight.
yeah, it's a battle of philosophy and wits. And now it's become a meme. Have you heard of the Ship of Theseus? And like, but it's so fucking good. Like,
Yes.
Vision wins by having by appealing to his better reason, literally himself, right? And then Wanda
I
wins not so,
request elaboration.
and then Wanda
It's
wins
so
not so,
good.
and it's so good. And Wanda wins not so much by beating Agatha, if not outsmarting her and being like, "Hey, I paid attention to what you said. That was your downfall. Like you gave me just enough information. Like your
The
ego,
villain monologue.
yeah, your ego and your pride ultimately defeated you."
Hmm.
And it's so so good. I love that show. So, uh, and yeah, I don't know where I was going with that,
I love
but
the
I love
show,
that
and
show.
yeah.
I love the show, and yes, yes, we do. Any more thoughts on Wanda?
Just the ending. I mean, do you want to talk
Oh, the
about the
post-credit
ending
scenes?
now? Yeah, or do you want
Because
to save that for
now,
another time?
now we speculate. We can talk about it now. That's
All
fine.
right.
We get two post-credit scenes, right? One of them is with Monica
The
Rambeau,
scroll and yeah. Okay.
and she's
Next.
going up to space to meet Nick Fury. Like,
Yeah.
so essentially setting up what a lot of people think, and I'm inclined to agree, setting up Captain Marvel 2. Right?
Yeah.
Because with the Skrulls going to space, meeting Nick Fury, and then she's Monica Rambeau, who's like the daughter of Captain Marvel's best friend, So,
Hmm.
all
Right.
right,
And
and then
that's how they get rid of Brie Larson, and then Monica becomes
we'll
the
see.
next Captain Marvel.
We'll see. Because a lot of people are speculating that she won't be Captain Marvel just yet. She'll be Photon first.
Hmm.
Because like when she went through the hex, she got powers, right? But here's the thing: the show showed like once the hex is gone, whatever was inside the hex is no longer what it is outside of it, right? So, and we don't see Monica exert any more powers after the hex is gone. So, does she still have her superpowers? Does she not?
That was a question I had too. So we'll
So,
see.
we'll see. But for sure, it sets up some movie. And people say Captain Marvel 2, and I'm inclined to agree. Any other thoughts on that?
Agents of
first post?
Sword.
Well, I mean, we have Sword. I don't know if we're getting a show, though. Agents of Sword.
Yeah. No, but the one I want to talk about is the last scene,
final
right?
one?
Where she's like astro projecting the way that the Sorcerer Supreme would do.
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton. What's the character's name? Not the chosen one. The
Sorcerer Supreme.
Is it Sorcerer Supreme?
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
And like she did that with the Hulk, like astral projected him out of his body, things like that. I think Doctor Strange did it too, right? During the movie when he was like studying that little
Yep.
like montage of stuff.
Yeah. When he's sleeping, but
Yeah.
while he's sleeping, he's studying.
Yeah.
So while she's drinking tea, she's actually in the back studying for
Studying
real.
the Darkhold.
Yeah, and that's where we're like, did she really learn a lesson? Because like she's messing with the Book of the Damned. She's literally messing with powers she cannot comprehend, dark powers too. And like I think a common theme is like you can't use evil to defeat evil, right? Because then you
Hmm.
yourself just become evil by doing that, right? You have to
Right.
use good to defeat evil. But she's
What's
trying to
like
understand
the
her.
line from The Dark Knight? You either die a hero or live long
Or you
enough to become the
exactly.
villain.
Yeah, and her like the reasoning behind to me, right? The reasoning behind her reading the Darkhold is because it talks about her being the Scarlet Witch, and she kind of recognizes that now too because of the vision that she, the vision, no pun intended, but the vision she had when she first encountered the Mind Stone, right? And how
Hmm.
ultimately that vision was about her becoming into the Scarlet Witch. But at the same time, it's dark forces and like absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see what ultimately becomes of her. Because we've read comic books, you and me, right? We're
Yeah.
not
Some.
we're connoisseurs somewhat of comic books, and Wanda's like the Big Show, and where she constantly flips from heel to babyface in the comic books. So
She's also the same size as the Big Show.
yeah, literally same
Also has her own
everything.
TV show, just like the Big Show.
They both wear one. They both wear the onesie, the
The one
singlet,
thing.
right?
Yep.
But like legit, like in the comic book, she's been like a good guy, and she's also been like a bad guy, and she's been like the
Hmm.
fall of here. Like obviously, like famous storyline, Avengers Disassembled. She's the reason the Avengers disassemble because she has a mental breakdown. Then House of M, and then like all this other crazy
Hmm.
stuff. So she's not like a full blown. Although she has been sometimes a full blown bad guy. I feel like more in the modern takes of the comic books, it's almost like always like she doesn't know what she's doing. She's just kind of is, and sometimes it's chaotic because
Hmm.
she is chaos magic um, personified. So it's gonna be interesting. What I do know is like this show is supposed to lead into the next Doctor Strange movie, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which now we are getting multiverse. Allegedly. It's been two times that Marvel kind of like tricked us into thinking they were introducing the multiverse.
Spider-Man, and then in WandaVision.
And then WandaVision, so
Yeah.
it's like George Bush said, fool me once, you can't fool me again. So, what do you think of that last post credit scene? What are some of your theories?
uh, I think it's a bait and switch, right? I think they want you to believe that she's turning heel, but I think she's going to ultimately understand the magic and use it for good in a sense. Not like heroism, but like for herself. And I think she's learned her lesson that like she does affect other people when she does her magic. And I think that by understanding the whole book completely, she can do what she wants while learning not to affect other people. And I
Well,
think
I
Doctor
don't know,
Strange is
man.
gonna. I think she's gonna be an ally to Doctor Strange in their fight against Dormammu. Number two.
I don't know. I, or I don't know. Take this with a grain of salt, right? But rumor has it that she's the big bad in Doctor Strange. Like she's the cause of a lot of the craziness that's gonna happen in that movie. I don't know, man. I mean,
I
like
think it's a bait and switch. I think they want you to believe that.
you might be right. Ultimately, you might be right. I don't know. I just think I don't know. We'll see. I just think the theme of like using evil for good always turns out bad, right?
Hmm.
Or it's just like if you try to use good, but you're actually using it for evil, right? Like pretend like you're like a good guy, right? And give good reasons, but you're really like the worst of the worst. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Right.
whole
Like
like
John
just like
Cena pretending
yeah
to be a
no.
good guy.
No, I'm literally thinking like politicians and how like I'm gonna do this for the working class, and then like when they actually get into power, it's really like let me benefit big
My
oil and destroy
friends
the
and
environment. Yeah,
yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, this show, a lot of people's favorite character now is Wanda because we
Hmm.
finally get to understand her. Like in the movie, she's always just kind of been a side character, and her storylines have always been just like D storylines at best. Just stuff happens, we have to catch up, right? Like Age of Ultron, we're introduced to them. She's the bad guy. they ultimately defeat Ultron, and then the next time we see her, she's an Avenger, right? Civil War, and then after that, the next time we see her, boom, her and Vision are in a full blown relationship. Like we don't get any like real development of that storyline. It's just here where the characters are. But now it's like we actually do get to, and Vision too. We actually get to know them as characters now because of the show, which is what ultimately what I hope is the future of Marvel, is we get more of these like character studies and not so much like full blown comic book movie. Although like there's a time and place for that for sure. I'm not saying don't get rid of comic book movies, but there's so much about like the spectacle and the popcorn and the blockbuster of it. I really liked how this show, it felt like a movie, but it wasn't like a big explosive blockbuster movie, you know what I mean? It was like a very intimate drama slash thriller kind of that involved comic book characters. So I want more of that, please, and thank you.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get that in the next show, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That starts this week, right? Or next week?
13, something like that. Yeah.
Is it this week already?
I think so.
March 19th.
Oh, maybe next week.
It's next Friday. Not this upcoming Friday, but the next Friday. Alrighty. Also, that's exciting. Yeah,
because we also don't get to know much about the Falcon or Winter Soldier, really. This is their chance to really elaborate.
But one can argue, like, yeah, they're more like B or C characters for sure. But we get it up until this point, right? We got way more out of Falcon and Winter Soldier than we did with Wanda and Vision.
Oh yeah, loads more.
Yeah, like Bucky Barnes, we know his backstory and like what makes him tick, and Falcon to some extent too. In Winter Soldier, we get to know who he is to some extent. But I will admit, after Winter Soldier, he's just Falcon. Like he's just reliable.
On your left.
Falcon, yeah, on your left, yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping too that we get more character development with those two in the TV show, and also too, I'm hoping the show is portraying itself now to be like this huge spectacle show, like it's a spy action thriller show. So it's like, yeah, now I want the popcorn explosion blockbuster. I'm not looking for heavy metaphysical questions. What is grief? What is loss? What is grief if not love persevering? Brilliant line, but I don't need that
line.
I don't need that to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I just need guns, explosion. Who's that guy? Let's follow him.
You don't want Bucky to talk to Falcon and be like, what is grief if not love persevering?
Yeah, I don't want Bucky looking at Falcon and be like, have you heard the tale of the ship of Theseus? Theseus, and then they struggle to say it. Theseus. But yeah, Marvel continues its hot streak of like literally, even their like lowest quality or the lowest content isn't the worst content in the world. Like it's still pretty good and enjoyable. So, any other news that you want to point out for you this week? My main one was WandaVision because, hot damn.
No, I think that's it.
It's pretty much it, right? The same week.
Yeah.
Same. You went on your trip, had a good time. I was quarantined, so I got a lot of work
also
done.
Had a good time.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You do what you can. I had a lot of work, and a lot of Schmodown stuff. Finally got the email.
Good.
Finally got that big email. It was really more of a call. I had a call with the big boss man. He was like, "This is what I want you to do," and I was like, "Whoa, okay, here we go."
Okay.
So it should be fun. Keep an eye out for that for any Schmodown fans out there. But today's episode, let's get to the topic at hand. This is our first ever annual. Are we making annual? We'll see. But it's our first ever.
I don't know.
Biannual, quad annual.
Once every quarter.
Once every quarter. Once every full moon episode of. Is it a full moon tonight? Can you imagine if I nailed that? I probably didn't though. Are you gonna Google it, Siri?
No, it's a crescent moon.
Damn it! Once every crescent moon. Wait, but when the show drops though,
Oh, maybe.
oh shit. But
So what are we
wow.
doing?
What are we doing? I don't know, man. That's our first ever music exchange. Me and Brian, really mostly Brian, if I'm being honest, had the brilliant idea of saying, hey, man, let's choose an album for each other to listen to, and then we'll come back after we've listened to it and just say our thoughts on it. And I'll say what I assigned you, and then you can say what you assigned me. I assigned Brian He Is Legends White Bat album, 2018.
I have 2019.
That was
According
2019?
to, yeah.
Okay, well, I was off a year. This is why I write music, man. I'm terrible with facts. Brian?
And then I assigned you Arctic Monkeys Suck It and See from 2011.
11. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
All
very
right.
curious to see what you thought about He Is Legend.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. So He Is Legend. I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of He Is Legend. Cause I sure haven't, right? Before this. He Is Legend is a, what would you call him? Metal? Heavy metal?
They're not metal. I don't think you would call them. It's weird because they're an amalgamation of a lot of things. They have like some metal elements in it, but not enough to be full blown metal. You know what I mean? And they have some of that like
New metal?
it's not new metal either. Don't you dare. I would say it's kind of like post rock, hardcore, maybe kind of progressive rock music, kind of sort of maybe. It's hard to truly like if you like rock music, like heavy rock and roll, and you like metal, but you don't like your blast beats and like your downtuned guitars, like you like something a little bit more digestible with some actual like singing in it and not just guttural vocals, and I think you would like He Is Legend. If you're like looking for that edge, but not all the way through where it's like just brutal in your face metal.
So that kind of music band.
Yeah.
They formed from what I've read, right, they have been around since like the late 1990s while they were in high school, at least some of the members. But they came up with the name He Is Legend in 2003, and they're from like North Carolina. Their first EP came out in 2004, and then they just like hit it from there, just off and running, right?
Off to the races. Yep.
Off to the races. White Bat is what, like their fifth album?
Yeah, I think it's their fifth studio album.
Fifth, yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
full length album. I think it is. Hold on here, because well, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because they've been around for a
EPs
minute.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's their fifth full length album. I think it's fair to say that. But let's ask Spotify. Spotify. Whatever they put on their music library, it's what it is. I would say, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess seventh studio album.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because technically, this is where it gets weird, right? Because depending on how long it is, it could be considered an EP or an LP. But technically, their first album is 2004's 90125. But it's only like 8 songs, which, depending on how you look at it, could be an album, could be an LP. I consider it an albums. Usually, like 5 or less is usually like what an EP would be compared to an LP. So, yeah, I would say their seventh studio album then.
All right.
Yeah.
Seventh studio album, White Bat.
Sure. Yeah.
Man, this album.
All right, my turn. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's so you assigned it to me. I listened to it a couple times while in San Francisco, especially on that long drive down. And then over the course of the weekend, even at work, I would put it on, and everyone in the kitchen liked it. And then when I was in the shower, I played it. I just kept listening and listening and listening. At first, it was really hard for me to get the lyrics that they were singing. So I had to look them up. Like, I read along for one of my listens, uh, and then after that, like I can hear it clearly after that. But it was an interesting read more than anything, right? Um, I know you told me it was a concept album, so I kind of had that going in, right? Kind of looking for like what is their concept, what are they doing, and best as I can like come up with, it's like a kind of like horror slasher, right, from start to finish.
You're in the right ballpark. It's a you gotta be more specific than just saying it's a horror album. Like it's like what type of horror films
Slasher,
are there, right?
a slasher.
Yeah, it's basically about yeah, serial killer. Yeah, slasher dude.
Serial that okay.
You're in the right ballpark, so I say
Okay.
that's a point. I'll mark it down.
All right, 1 point. Because we're um but I don't know. I also went in thinking it was metal, right? I think when we initially talked about it, I'm gonna suggest a metal album to you, and you gave me this album, and I listened to it. Like, I don't know if this is metal, but I liked it, right?
I'm pretty sure I didn't say it was a metal album. I'm pretty sure I said I'm gonna give you something that's a little heavy, but it's not full blown metal.
Oh, okay. I misinterpreted then. Either
Yeah,
way, I liked it.
because I wouldn't call it a metal. I definitely would not call this a metal album or even a metal band. Like they can be booked. Like if you go to like a heavy metal show and they're the opener, you're not gonna be too mad to see them because they
Right.
again they got that slight edge that like they blur that line, but they're not. But they're not. I don't know what you would call them, but I wouldn't call them straight up heavy metal.
No, but I think even based off this album, I think that their themes that they go for kind of leaned towards metal like ish themes, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe if
Metal definitely likes their horror themes for sure. I mean, just
yeah,
look at death metal. That's just horror movie music.
right. Um, what else do you want to talk about?
Uh, all right. I know the
Like
first song.
what are your questions for me based
Yeah,
off this album?
yeah. I know the first song is like is probably the most aggressive song on the album because it just opens up with dissonance. It's got like that just ugly sounding guitar in the beginning, right? And it just it gets into a blast beat, which is very like that's metal. But then it starts to groove, right?
Hmm.
So what
That
was like
second
your
song, the burn all your burn all your rock
oh,
records.
that's a pure
Yeah.
like just rock and roll. Do 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 boo
Hmm.
do 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 do. So what was your initial reaction listening to that opening track? Because initially when I gave you that, I was like, I could see Brian liking like maybe this track or liking this track because it grooves. It's got like that rock and roll groove. But I was
Yeah.
like, but that opening track though, like if you don't know any better, you're like, oh great, I'm in it now. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and so because I misinterpreted what you said, I was thinking this is a metal album. And that first song you said, it like it absorbs you right into it. You just like you listen, you pop it in, you listen, and you're like, okay, okay. And then by like the middle of the song, you're just like rocking out to the whole thing, right? um, but I loved it. I thought it was great. It was fun.
What
Yeah.
because
It really
all
gets
right.
your blood pumping. And you
Oh,
just
dude, I listen straight
yeah.
up. I listen to that album a lot when I'm like working out and trying to lift weights. It gets
Hmm.
me there. When you need that final rep, you start screaming, "I am the white bat!" Ah! But all right. So the album as a whole, I personally think works. Do you feel like the concept works the way they organize the tracks, especially like knowing that it's a concept album and how they kind of set up the story with the lyrics and the tracks? Do you think it works as a whole? Do you think certain songs don't necessarily fit the theme of it?
um, I think if you're gonna look at it as a concept as a whole, right, and you're thinking of it as a story that progresses from like a 3 act structure, let's say, like you get the first act, the second act, the third act, and in that second act, you kind of have to like slow things down a little bit to build up the anticipation for like that final stretch run of just like climax, climax, climax. I think it works great, right? Because you like that first track gets you in it, and you're pumped, and like you want to like just sit with the whole album. And then that second track is, like you said, a little more groovy, right? But it still rocks a little bit, and so you're still coming down from that adrenaline, but you're still feeling it. And towards like the middle tracks, it starts to really slow down a bit. Um, it's like the when you get to like Talking Stalker and the Interloper, like those are two of my favorite songs from the album.
Mm.
But they really like just like slow things down. And then you go right into like this is the last track, the Boogie Woman. Yeah, you just end on a banger. It's fantastic.
I really I really think what I love about that album is, yes, that kind of like you start up like, hey man, we're fucking and you're kind of cruising, right? You kind of come down the hill and then you kind of go back up to like the explosion of the end of it. So like for anyone who hasn't really listened to the album or know what the concept is about, because I just gave a vague like it's a serial killer. Essentially, the idea, what I interpreted it as, because the singer, like when he's been in interviews, he says like what influenced him, and it was like obviously a lot of horror movies, and specifically like a serial killer documentary book that he was really into, kind of influenced the lyrics and the concept of the album. It's not necessarily based off of that. It's just that's what influenced him at the time. To me, the story is about reading the lyrics and sitting down with it. To me, the story is about like a serial killer who's kind of like been on the down low, right? He hasn't really been out and about doing his usual wicked things. That's what the song begins with, like the song White Bed is like about like when are you gonna come back? It's like when my work is done and they give me a name, I'll come back out and show you my face, right? That's like the main lyric until they start screaming, I am the white bat. I kinda like that. So the serial killer, like the media name, right? Because the media always gives serial killers names. Like the media calls him the white bat, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm the white bat." So in the song, and then the next song, like "Burn the Rock Records," is like a day in the life of, and he hates rock and roll. That's like the concept of that song. And then
Yeah.
like the woods to when I was young, right? It's kind of like informing that he's been doing this for a long time. He's kind of older now. He's a little jaded, but he still hasn't been caught. And then what's the song after that when the woods were young was Eyes or something like that.
See.
It's the song. This is it's been a minute. It's the song that I heard one time on show. IT.
Eye
That's what it's
teeth.
called. It's the
Hmm.
song that it's the first song I heard off of the album. It was kind of came on shuffle on my Spotify, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? I love this." And that song is literally about him stalking somebody. Like the lyrics are like I saw your teeth. I had to have them. I wasn't kidding. I really had to have them. Like he's kind of a psychopath. Like he is like a
Yeah.
legitimately scary dude. And the song progresses where he's kind of like lamenting. He feels lonely. Like he has all these victims and all these treasures, but he still feels unfulfilled. And then the song explodes. The album concludes essentially with him finding his one and only, right? Basically him finding a partner to like continue doing his crime spree with, which is like very like, I know you don't watch a lot of horror movies, but it's like it kind of gives me like almost like the Devil's Rejects kind of vibes almost, or even like a you know, like almost like a Bride of Chucky almost kind of thing, where it's like
Mm.
the monster finds someone who's just as horrific as them, and they fall madly in love, and they go off and do horrific things together. So like I like I don't know for how they write their music and how creepy some of the music is. You know what I mean? Because it's not just a straight rock and roll groove. There's some weird dissonant notes in it that just kind of feel icky. That I feel really fit the vibe of the concept
Hmm.
altogether.
Yeah.
I love.
I'm not gonna pop it in every day, right?
I would,
But you
and I
but
have.
if I want to get into a certain mindset, right? Maybe to create certain things, like I can see how this is gonna be one of my go-tos.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question would be, what'd you think of the vocalist?
Oh, so like I said, like when I initially heard it, like it was a little bit hard to understand through his grunts and yelling a little bit. Um, Obviously in like the softer songs, like Uncanny Valley, like you can hear everything. Um, and in those songs, you can tell he's not like the most polished singer, but he's good, and I think his voice fits the music. If
Yeah,
that
there's like
makes
a there's
sense.
like a it's not a full on guttural scream, but there's a lot of grit to his
Yeah,
voice. Yeah.
yeah, but I think
W-
it fits.
Yeah, I would say it fits the band very well.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's not like I mean, he's not
He's no Justin Timberlake,
yeah, it's no,
right?
obviously. But for what the band is, his voice is like up there for me for that type of sound.
Hmm.
Um,
But it's like Paul McCartney is not like the greatest singer either, but the music, for what his music is, his voice fits perfect, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
you work within the confines of your instrument, and he does that very well.
Yeah.
What was your least favorite track out of the album?
Let me see.
That first track. It's too
No,
much. Too
I
heavy.
IT ITF is the one that kind of gets left behind.
That's like one of my favorites.
That one and then Bent. I don't remember Bent too. It doesn't really stand out.
That's fair. Yeah, I would agree with Bent. Uh, all right. You wouldn't listen to the album as a whole, but if you can choose one song to put into a playlist that you would listen to every day, which song would it be?
Uncanny Valley.
For sure.
I think so.
Uncanny Valley. Alrighty. So overall, final thoughts. What would you give the album a rating out of? Let's say 5 stars, because that seems to be popular.
Out of five.
Yeah. Final thoughts and then rating.
Okay. Final thoughts. I think what really spoke to me in this album were the drums. Uh, I don't know. I felt sort of nostalgia through that first listen. Maybe not the first, maybe like the second time. Because I was sitting down listening to it. The drums gave me kind of like a thrice kind of vibe to them, and I got a little bit nostalgia of like, man, like I used to listen to that kind of music all the time with that kind of like hard beat to it. Um, and I guess for that reason, I gave it a 4 out of 5, right? Because it's
Nice.
the concept is brilliant. I think it's well executed, and then the music really spoke to me personally.
Brilliant. Awesome.
Hmm.
Wonderful stuff. All right, I guess it's my turn. Oh boy.
Yes. So Arctic Monkeys,
All right.
really popular band. I'm sure a lot of people do know about the Arctic Monkeys, but a little
Behind the scenes,
history.
Arctic Monkeys, obviously an English rock band, right? All the way from
Hmm.
from Sheffield. They've
Sheffield, England.
Sheffield. They've been around since 2002. They have, as far as I can tell, 6 albums now, give or take, right?
Also gets kind of murky, right? Depending on what you think is an album and what's not an
Yeah.
album. But yeah.
Officially released material, I guess they got about six projects that they originally retreat. Obviously, I know them because "Do I Want to Know" is like their biggest hit. And it was like on radio and everywhere for like the
Hmm.
longest time. It's honestly one of my favorite songs. It's a cool groovy song. But outside of that song and that particular album, AM, I haven't really listened to anything outside of them prior to this. Like I knew of them, I knew some stuff out of them, but I didn't do like a deep dive into like their discography or to anything else really outside of that album and that particular
Hmm.
song. So I will. It's a journey, man. So here we go. First listen, I couldn't get through it. If I'm being honest,
Oh,
Like
okay.
I listened to like the first 6 songs and I was like, this is very meandering for me, and I'm a little bored and frustrated with this, so I immediately switched to something else. Now I will say I was in the middle of a very intense workout. I'm pretty sure it was chest day, and like for pumping, for me personally, not the best album to listen to when you're trying to like exert energy.
I
So
would agree with that.
that was probably my first mistake, and I realized that. So I tried listening to it when I went on walks, which is just, I'm just walking around
I think that's
chilling,
perfect. Yeah.
vibing on nature. And like second time listening to it, I was able to get through the album because I take like an hour walk, so I was able to get through it. But initially, nothing really stuck out to me. That first full listen, which is either a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you interpret things. It's a very coherent album in the sense of like they have a sound and they stick to it, and it's coherent throughout the whole album. Literally, it's like it's the sound. But what I think I ran into was like trying to distinguish like the different songs based on their sound, because it all just kind of sounded like the same to me. It sounded like one really long track. So then I tried listening to it again. I started vibing out to it a little bit more. But if I'm being honest, literally today I was listening to it on my way to and from a gig I had today, and for some reason today it clicked a lot more for me. That I was starting to groove to it, and I was starting to enjoy it. Specifically, songs like "Brick by Brick" really stuck out to me in terms of like the groove and the songs about that. "Don't Sit Down Because I've Moved Your Chair" really vibed with me too, and the last song, "That's Where You're Wrong." But for some reason, like that opener to me, I'm just like that. I wouldn't have opened with that.
What is it
It's,
open with?
she's thunderstruck.
She's thunderstorms. Yeah.
Yeah, she's thunderstorms. Yeah, and it's just like very like she's thunderstorms lying
Lying
on her
on her front.
front. But it's
Yeah.
like, like, and it's weird because like his voice is very. I mean, it is what it is. His voice to me is a little meandering and kind of monotone. He doesn't really break out from the range of like, like that range. Doesn't really deviate too much with that. Doesn't really like experiment with his voice. It's very in lines of like adhering to the sound that this album is. And I keep saying this album because when you go from this album to the next album, which is AM, I feel like that album, in retrospect now, is a lot more. He gets a lot more experimental with his voice, and the band gets a lot more experimental with like how they write songs and how they groove.
And then
Like
you get to their next album, and it's just also completely different.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a bad album, because I don't. Because again, today I was legit like vibing to it and I was like grooving to it. But it was like the setting too. I was just driving. You know what I mean? It was a long drive. You put that song on, you're just driving, chilling, a little bit of traffic, but it's a vibe and it relaxes you for sure. But it's like it's an album that I have to be in a certain mood or mindset to kind of get into it. You know what I mean? It's not like an everyday type of listen. It's like a specific event or something like that. Does that make sense? Because the music to me, and it's not to say that they don't rock out. They're like the songs I mentioned, like the ones that really stuck out to me were like they're heavier, more rhythmic, more quicker songs. You know what I mean? I will say, dude, legitimately, I love their bassist Nick O'Malley. Like the tone he has on his bass and the way he plays it is chef's kiss. It's brilliant stuff. That's rock and roll to me. Like the way he plays it, it's like he's heavy, picking the strings. He's got a little bit of fuzz tone in it. Brilliant. Their guitarist, I'm not sure who their main lead guitarist is. I'm guessing it's Jamie. Well, it depends, right?
Jamie
When this
Cook, rhythm and lead guitar.
Well, when this album was out, was he a part of the band still during that? Because they've had a couple of member changes.
Yeah, I think he's one of the original.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he's the lead, unless Alex is also, because I know Alex is the lead singer and guitar, but
Yeah,
I'm
and he plays
assuming
more
Jamie's,
keyboard than anything.
yeah. So Jamie's like guitar licks, and like I legit love when you add fuzz to it. Like it's a very like crackly guitar distorted sound. And when he would do it on his solos and stuff like that, and you get the stereo too, like you can clearly hear he like multi-tracked left and right separately and did separate things in little different intonations to just kind of make it cool and stereo wide.
Hmm.
I love that guitar work. There's just a lot of stuff that didn't stick out to me this album. I would listen to it, and again, like the main takeaway was like it just sounds like one long thing. There's not like an individual track that really stuck to me, and because it was kind of like, I say meandering, but that feels negative. It was kind of like floaty. Like a lot of it kind of floats and really like weaves in and
Hmm.
out to the next track and the other. Like no lyrics really stuck out to me personally, except for like don't sit there because I moved your chair. Like that's a wild line that stuck out very coherently in my head. And then that opening track too, man. I'm just like, I should have like prepared my mindset based on that opening track because it's very like it starts off kind of weird, which gave me like Rolling Stone vibes. Where it's like it's not very like it's a dissonant kind of like scale where it's like you got half tones in it, which is very like painted black almost in a sense. There's like a harmonic minor scale in there. And look at me talking using my master's degree to the fullest extent. But it is. It's like a little like minor, like harmonic minor track in there,
Hmm.
and then it gets into the groove, and like you don't really hear that again. It's just there in the beginning to kind of like throw you off, like, dude, what the heck? And then she's thunderstruck, and just kind of like it, just like it's like a little wave, like you laying in a pool, and it's just like. That should have set me off to what to expect for the rest of the album. I think my problem with it, I came in expecting "Do I Want to Know," but that's not the
Hmm.
album at all. It's like it's like
Different.
it's like very surf rock. It's like very like surf rock meets like Rolling Stone meets a little bit of like a hint of psychedelic slash stoner rock in there, like a hint of it, just enough so you can like vibe out, but it's not full on psychedelic rock. It's not full on Rolling Stone rock and roll. You know what I mean? It's like very like it's
Hmm.
just like a very like mellow, vibey, little hint of like rock and roll aggression, but never to the point of like their next album. Really, I would say their next album is like a lot more aggressive compared to this album.
I think their
Um,
the AM album is definitely, I think, more globally successful.
yeah,
Yeah, but this
yeah, it's a
one, I'll say that Second and C is my favorite album as a whole. Um, but you're
from the
right.
Arctic Monkeys.
From the Arctic Monkeys, that's my favorite album. And it's interesting to hear you say the lyrics didn't stand out to you because that's the one thing that did stand out to me. Because yeah, it's
Really?
a little it's very melodic, very like psychedelic ish. Like you do kind of just sort of ish, right? You kind of just have to like sit and like
But it's also
kind
like
of
it gives off like that classic 60s 70s rock where it's like Rolling Stone, The Who. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like
You kind of just want to
it
wander in it a little bit.
honestly, if I were to compare him to anybody, it'd probably be Morrison. Like his voice gives me like Morrison vibes where it's kind of like it's not like super operatic. Like I don't know if people I don't know, I might get I don't know. My limited with The Who and Morrison specific, his voice was never crazy wide. He didn't have a crazy wide range, but
Mm-mm.
like he had like this mellow vibe to him in a sense. You know what I mean? Like he could go crazy for sure because he was in a rock and roll band, but like that's kind of the vibe the lead singer for this, or at least for this album, kind of gives me. It's kind of like that. And I'm thinking more of like Crystal Ship vibes. If anybody wants to like really get on me about using the Who as an example, it's like very Crystal Shippy. But like if like they took that one song and made a whole album out of Crystal Ship, which is like just one song. So, um, in terms of lyrics, before you say anything, I did try to look up some of the lyrics,
Okay.
and it's very much like again, even the lyrics to me sometimes, especially thunderstorms, man, very repetitive, kind of like a little like meandering. Like you get a hint of a theme in it, but it's kind of like vague enough for you to be like, what do you think the song means? Like again, she's thunderstorms, lying on her front, up against the wall. She's thunderstorms. I've been feeling foolish. You should try it. She came and substituted the peace and quiet. Acrobatic blood flow, concertina, cheating heartbeat, rapid fire. She's thunderstorms lying on her back. And it's just like, all right, she's someone you're obsessing with. She's like a thunderstorm in your head. Like you're constantly having her in her head. Okay. And then like, what is this? Black treacle?
Black treacle.
Treacle. Lately, I've been seeing things, belly button piercings in the sky at night when we're side by side, and I don't mean to rain on anybody's cabriolet. One of those games you're gonna lose, but you want to play it just in case. Now it's getting dark, and the skies look sticky, more like black treacle than tar. Somebody told the stars you're not coming out tonight, so they found a place to hide. Does it help you stay up late? Like, it's very like those first two tracks. Like, I don't know. You can tell me if I'm wrong or not. It's very like lovey-dovey, like, oh, there's this girl, and like, you know what I mean? It's not until I get into like brick. I want to build you up brick by brick. I want to break you down brick by brick. That gave me like very like 60s 70s vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Rolling Stone, a little bit of like Beach Boy vibes almost, which I kind of hesitate to say, but a little bit of like Beach Boy is in there. A little like a hint of that surfer rock kind of, not full on like happy go lucky, but like in terms of the vocals.
Brick by brick, I can kind of see
where
that might be an influence.
So that for sure stuck out to me. And then, no offense, but like the Hellcat Spangled Shalalala, the chorus is just shalalala. That's the whole chorus. Shalalala, shalalala. Which again, I understand it's a pop album, okay. But it's like, yeah. And then don't sit down though. I fucking break a mirror, roll the dice, run with scissors through a chip pan firefight, go into business with a grizzly bear, but just don't sit down because I've moved your chair. Find a well-known hard man and start a fight. Wear your shell suit on bonfire night. Fill in a circular hole with a peg that's square, but just don't sit down because I've moved your chair. Like, that shit's kind of dope. That's just like, let's create chaos. Let's get crazy. So those two songs really stuck out to me the most. But like most everything else, like I personally, and maybe it was his voice, I just couldn't like gravitate. Nothing really stuck out to me besides those two songs. It's mostly from melody and obviously guitar work. So that's the thing, right? Because you say this is your favorite album by them because of like the lyrics, right? So of course, melody and voice is like the thing you gravitate to the most.
Yeah.
As like, you know, a normie would listen to music.
Which is fair.
I
think that's fair.
Like but like non-jokingly, right? Like a normal person who's not like quote unquote a professional musician or didn't study music, right? Or they don't even like really perform music in any way, shape, or form. Like that's why pop music is pop music. You don't listen to it for the arrangement and the instrumentation. Like it's the vocals you listen to, that melody, the hook, the lyrics, all that stuff. So it makes sense that of course, like once I dove into the lyrics now and like you saying them, I'm like, yeah, of course he would, duh. But like me, like studying music, especially studying music, and then coming from like that jazz classical world that I was into because of my college degrees and stuff like that. Like I've always gravitated towards instrumentation first, you know. A lot of my favorite albums, and just look at White Bat. Like I will 100% admit, like there's hardly any vocal melodies in that album. Like there's melodies for sure, but there's nothing like crazy hooky catchy. Like it's really about that guitar work and the intricacies of like how the songs weave in and out, right? But the vocals there's some melody and some vocal chime in it, but it's a lot of grit more than anything. It's not really like sweeping melodies and stuff like that.
I think it says a lot about the kind of listener I am to say that, you know, like Uncanny Valley was probably my favorite track from that album. Right.
And of course mine's like Eye Teeth and White Bat, because like the weirdest sounding songs on there.
Yeah.
Like very heavy dissonant guitar tracks. And of course it makes sense, like if you listen to Brick by Brick and don't sit there because I moved your chair, that's probably like their most intricate guitar work on that album. And you got some guitar solos in there too, which I really love about that too. So of course, me coming from that side, especially as like guitarist, where I'm always kind of like looking for stuff like, do I want to play that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or what do I think about that guitar track or that guitar ensemble or that guitar instrumentation arrangement? Like that's what I naturally tend to gravitate towards. Hence why I'm such a huge like metal, punk, rock type of fan, jazz fan, because of the instrumentation and the intricacies of how people use the guitar. Compared to like, it's not to say that I don't listen to pop. Clearly, I do sometimes in country music and what have you. But I listen a lot to like jazz, metal, heavy, progressive, math rock, I guess you can call it. So, yeah. I rambled a lot, but those are my thoughts. I had a lot of thoughts, man. I was like, I can't say I hate the album because I don't. Because today it clicked. Today I was vibing to it a lot, but more so the music, like the melody and the lyrics don't really like hit me or impact me as much. If I'm being
They're
honest.
the melodies aren't crazy, right? They're not super intricate. But I think for me, what really stands out in this album are his lyrics and like the poetic imagery that he creates with those words. Specifically, like in "Love Is a Laser Quest," the story that he like creates there, to me, like that's my favorite song in this album.
And that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it's
And
interesting
that
to think about how like I recommended this album based on the fact that I
the
liked it,
melody.
but that's not necessarily something that you are going to gravitate towards. And
No,
I think moving forward, that might be something I would consider. Right.
no, but I hope you don't, because I like being challenged. I'm the type of guy, legitimately, and I've done this before. I'll text a random friend and be like, "Hey, man, what's an album you're listening to that I should check out?" And I've had friends be like, "I don't know if you like it," and I'd be like, I don't care if you think I do or don't. I want to check out whatever it is that you're into right now." And I've gotten a lot of bands that I've been like, I've never heard this, and now I dig it a lot. Like a big example is Dirty Heads. For anyone who knows Dirty
I love
Heads,
Dirty Heads.
they're like this combination of like reggae, hip hop, pop music, and I fucking love Dirty Heads so much, dude. I thought that, what was the last album they did? It was the one, was it the one with like a vacation and like
Yes, Vacation, I think.
that song is
That
so
sounds right.
I'm on vacation every single day because I love my art. That band grooves so hard. I love
I
that band
listened to
so
that
much.
song, specifically that song, this past weekend, actually.
It's, I know, right? Because sometimes there's moments in your life where you're doing what you love. You're like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
20,
It's like, so
2017.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like I've discovered bands like that I wouldn't find on my own based on like what Spotify thinks I like. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It doesn't fit into your algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to sometimes think out of that algorithm, and I'll just text friends and be like, "What are you into right now?" And I'll get that response. I don't think you'll like it, and it's like, well, let me listen and figure that out for myself. So I legitimately hope you don't do that to me. I hope you just keep giving me stuff that you're into, and just let me form my own opinion.
No, well, yeah, I think that goes without saying. But I was what I was coming at from like if we do another like music exchange, if I consider the fact that why do I like this album, and if like it's something that you would gravitate towards or not, could factor is like, hey, like maybe maybe this doesn't fit David's like persona,
But
but
also, again,
why not? Right? Like
it
why
also
not?
depends.
The whole idea of a music exchange is to like have these conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I fully admit it depends on what I'm doing and the mood I'm in. Because again, the first time I listened to it, I was like working out, and I was like, "This isn't working out music." But then again, today in my car, like I was grooving to it the whole time in my car. Like it fit the vibe of me driving in the city, the sun going down, the streetlights coming on. She's thunderstorm, like and the lights popping on. I was like, this is a fucking vibe, bro. I'm feeling it now. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
definitely, for me personally, it's definitely like it has to be that vibe of like I'm chilling.
that's true. Because I think one of the times I listened to the White Bat album was like during the day. The sun's like bright, it's out. I'm like driving around, and like it's like yeah, like the guitar like it hits, but it doesn't hit the
Fit the
same
vibe.
at
Yeah,
at nighttime. Like
bro. I get it.
yeah,
When I visited California and like it's a blue sky and the sun is out, and it's like it's a little warm, but it's not hot. You know what I mean? You can have the windows down, bro. Dirty heads, fucking dirty
Yes.
heads. That's perfect vibe for driving in the streets of Cali, dude. So it like again like not. It just depends on the vibe, and I find it interesting too. Speaking of like why we each chose this album for each other, I came from it from a side of like wanting to introduce you to more like intricate guitar heavy music, and you. I think it's fair to say, White Bat, the guitar work in that I find is very brilliant because it's parts groove, parts rock, parts metal,
Hmm.
and you came from Suck It and See from you being
Lyrics.
a writer yourself, an aspiring writer. You came from it from like lyrics because you love the written word on it, which I find like yeah, that makes sense for both of us, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
Your final thoughts and then a grade out of 5.
I mean, I would listen to it again, but I have to be in that mood of like I'm just chilling, bro. You know what I mean? Like either if I'm like on a relaxing car ride or taking a walk, or if I'm doing something in my house, I just want to have background noise. I'd probably put that on. Uh, I would give it.
Yeah,
This is
based
where
on like your experience so far.
I would give it like 3.5 out of 5.
That's not bad.
I would give it legitimately. I don't think it's as good as AM for me personally. I like that album a lot
Hmm.
more than this, personally speaking. That's like a 4.5. But this one has a vibe to it. I can't deny that either. I can't let my initial gut reaction kind of influence what happened today. Which again, today blew me away because I'm like, I gotta listen to it again, try to really make
Yeah.
sure. And today it clicked for me today more so than the previous day. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5.
All right. I'll take it.
All right, I could live with that.
Yeah. 3.5
As a
is good. I'd go to that hotel. That's fine.
Eh, maybe the Airbnb, but I don't know about the hotel.
Oh. All
Alrighty.
right. That was our
That
very first music. What was that experience like for you?
I mean, I love it. I mean, like I've
I
done it
mean,
before.
as far as like, as far as this conversation wise, like, specifically exchanging music to have a conversation.
I mean, bro, you know I could talk about music for days. You know, once you get me started, I get on a ramble, and it's kind of hard
To
to
stop.
like to like course correct me. You know, so I love it. We should definitely do it again.
Once every quarter. Got it.
I do. I will say I wish we had a week with it, give or take.
Yeah.
But I do wish for next time a little more time,
Okay.
especially during COVID, where I don't really have a lot of reasons to go out and have music on. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Usually here, like I'm working on stuff that is music related, so I can't really like sit down and listen to music unless I'm going somewhere or on a walk. So I think for me, until like we get back to some form of normalcy, maybe a little bit longer time, and then I could really like sit down and like analyze the music more. Like I wish I gave it a little bit of actual musical analysis with like some scales and stuff like that, but I really want to dive a little more into the intricacies of the music a little bit more specifically.
Hmm.
For me personally,
Yeah.
instead of just like straight up gut feeling. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I get that. So
More music analysis, and I need more time for that. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah. What about you?
Um, for me personally, I thought a week was fine. I don't come from that same background you do, obviously. So for me, it was more about that gut reaction, and then because I'm not going to sit down and analyze the music the way you do, right?
Nor should you. That's unenjoyable.
So I mean, but don't get me wrong. I did try to listen to like the the drums, the guitars, and see what they're doing. The bass is still a little bit difficult for me to really pinpoint. Um,
Oh, I can admit the bass in this album, White Bat,
yeah,
it's the low end of the guitar. That's really all it's there for.
Yeah,
Com-
I
com-
guess yeah. In this album, like, it was really hard for me to pinpoint. But like, other than like recognizing what is what and who's playing what, like I'm not gonna be like, oh, like this chord and that progressive and whatever. So 1 week was good enough for me, I think.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Also too because I am a freelancer. I don't have that set schedule. 1 week could be more than enough time, and the following week could be no time at all. So
Right.
it just depends on what I have on the docket. So I think maybe you're probably right. I just me personally, again, I wish I had a little more time, but that's just because this week was kind of weird with
Mm,
quarantine and stuff like that too. That's the other thing too, man. Like me being quarantined because of like the COVID scare. I wasn't feeling in like a mellow mood either, and I do feel like that affected my listening a lot too. Cause I was kind of under like
mm,
like stress of it. You know what I mean? Like the fear of like I'm trying
yeah.
not to get sick. I gotta cover now. I gotta wear the mask inside the house. I gotta like make sure I sanitize everything just in case. Oh, I don't want my parents to get it. I gotta go get tested. Oh, I still gotta work on this shit. I gotta work on that and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of stress and anxiety probably affected my listen too.
Oh yeah, because
I
that's
will
definitely
openly
not the
admit that.
vibe that you don't need that vibe for this album.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be in like you're in a chill, like relaxed mood, so you
You
can
have to
really
be,
absorb
yeah,
it better.
like your life has to be on cruise control a bit to really enjoy this album.
Definitely. As I take a sip of water. But yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
All right. Well, listeners, if you like this conversation, let us know in the comments below. Do you want more music exchanges? What kind of exchanges do you want? Do you want us to do movie exchange, recipe exchange, book exchange, whatever it can be, right? You let us know in the comments below. So, David, uh, where can the people find you?
You can find me everywhere and anywhere on the internet at David B Music 21 on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch.tv, and YouTube. You could also find my music, David B Music, anywhere you stream music, specifically my album Sunday Beats, an album I created for content creators and streamers to have in their background. Just go to David B Music, search up Sunday Beats. I won't copyright strike you unless you take credit and try to steal it. In that case, I will persecute you to the full extent of the law. Just a fair warning. But if you're just using it as background music to kind of fill space in your streams, hey man, have at it, go free. Tell me what you think. And also, you can find me doing various other things. My other podcast that I have, my Godzilla podcast, Men Amongst Monsters, we're gearing up for Godzilla vs. Kong, and we're very excited for that movie to come out end of this month. So keep an eye out for that. Available everywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. And then finally, keep an eye on the Schmodown. The Schmodown season has finally kicked into full gear. I have a lot of things to work on based on a call I had earlier this week. A lot of things. So keep an eye out and an ear out for some of the stuff I'm working on. So I'm very excited for a lot of the stuff we have coming up. A lot of cool things happening. So, and yeah, Brian, where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Kuno_stars. And that's it. Don't look for me
That's it.
nowhere else.
Don't you dare. Don't you
Don't-
freaking dare.
don't- Yeah.
For us.
So, so I think that concludes this episode.
That's right.
All right. It's
Close
been
us
a
up.
pleasure.
Close us out, buddy. It's yours.
What?
I'm following your lead. You're closing us out, so
All right. So 3, 2, 1. No.
it's only gonna happen when we're finally in the same room together.
Maybe not even then, right?
Just as a joke. That's gonna be the joke. We never get it right. The day we
Never.
get it right is the last episode of this podcast. Dun dun dun.